G'day guys and welcome back today to another video on the Druzy channel. We're continuing with the season predictions today and I've got two of the top dogs of AFL YouTube on the Druzy channel. Been a long time since we've all been on a call filming a video together. Probably a good 2 years I reckon. Me and Jesse had a big bender last year, but we're back making content in 2024. Lots has happened to our club since we last did this. In 2022, Freo were a top 5 side, pushing for a flag, and now we seem to be stinking at the bottom of the ladder. But let's have a bit of club chat. Jesse, we'll skip you. Caden, what's going on at the D's? What's happening this off-season and how are you looking headed into this year?
Really sound pre-season for the boys. They're dedicated. They're up and about. And it looks like we're going to take it to another level, hopefully. No distractions, which has been good.
What are you coughing at?
I'm so sorry. I had a big swig of coffee and then I fucking died.
I've killed True Footy.
I'm so sorry. There was nothing I could do to stop that.
That's a great start.
I'm still bullish that this list is better than 80% of the AFL. I hope we can put it together. Look, growing up, all I wanted was one flag, and I've seen one, but it does feel like this list needs one more to complete the journey, and I'm hoping, and I'm pretty bullish that they'll be up into their eyeballs with it this season, if that's a saying.
Do you feel like the 2021 premiership doesn't actually count because it was in Perth? I was there, it definitely happened, but like you do just want that day at the MCG.
My biggest grievance was that I wasn't there. But then the following year when the Cats won it, I was in Geelong at a mate's place sinking beers with Geelong supporters who didn't go. And I was sort of like, well, we've just had the same experience. Like last year I didn't get to go and you guys chose not to, and you chose just to have a barbecue around watching your team win the flag. So, you know, not everyone gets to go to the grand final. And unfortunately for us, that was the case. The D's won theirs when it was a full season, full quarters, and we had all our wins away from home in the final. So if anything, it's the most impressive flag we've ever seen.
Fair play, fair play. Yeah, the list talent is definitely there. You're just in that window right now. It's do or die. I feel like you have some contributors that, like, I don't know, your whole, what am I trying to say here? I was saying it to you last night. If
The
Gawn
core.
or May go down, it could be a shaky season. So we need to see them play a full season. Jesse, pretty excited by the intra club the other day. What'd you see from West Coast and what are you excited about for this season?
Well, we only saw 3 injuries, so things are looking up.
Did you actually get 3 injuries?
Yes.
What the hell?
Yeah, well, thankfully, honestly, I think we're in better shape than Hawthorn at the moment. They had a few big ones, including an ACL. They just looked a lot fitter and a lot more round one ready than I had ever seen them at this point in the year. I think we got into the competitive stuff and the skills stuff fairly early this preseason, and as a result, by the intra-club, like the standard of play, even though it was an intra-club, was pretty slick for a team that was diabolical last year. So there's a few good signs, but generally speaking, I was pretty happy with how we went.
I've been to both the Freo's intra clubs and they've been night and day. Like the first one looked really slick skill-wise, but the like intensity wasn't there. And then the second one I went to was really intense, but the skills weren't really there.
How's Luke Jackson looking?
Luke Jackson is looking very good. He has definitely been a standout.
He's
you get
so
guys
good.
like Kane Corn saying like, Luke Jackson isn't a forward, but he kicks like 3 or 4 every time Sean Darcy's in the side. You'll see Luke Jackson this year absolutely dominating the league, and he makes it look easy as well.
He was in the
freak
All-Australian
athlete.
squad last year. He's like
Was
21,
he?
22. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't even know that. I was too busy in Croatia. But yeah, Hayden Young through the middle, he's looking really good. And hopefully Will Brodie can come perform that role he did in 2022. That's what I'm holding on to. Our midfield's really good. If that can get ticking again, we should be on for a good year. I like to think Freo could go into the top 8 this year, but I want to ask you fellas first, who do you think from outside of last year's top 8 could jump into it this year? We'll start off with Caden. Who do you reckon?
Not Freo, unfortunately. I'm going for such an easy one. This is such an easy kill. The Western Bulldogs, how the hell do they keep missing the 8? I watched a game towards the end of last season, Friday night footy. It was the Dogs taking on the Pies, and it was when the Pies got a little bit shaky towards the end of the season. And in that first half, I reckon the Dogs were up like 50-20. Like they just put it on the Pies before the Pies mowed them down, as they do to a lot of sides. But in that first half, all their players are young. Like Aaron Norton's been spoken about for a long time, and in my head, he's like Hipwood's age, like sort of 27, 28. we're waiting for this big explosion of the astronaut, but it hasn't quite happened. But I realized that he's like 23. He's still quite young. Jamara's quite young. Waitman's quite young. They've got Sam Darcy. Sanders is there, or Saunders is there now. Whatever his name is.
Artie Jones.
So they've got this young core. Obviously, they've got Bont and Libba, but they've got this young core. So I'm so excited by the Bulldogs. And yeah, just the most mainstream answer ever. But they have to make the top 8. And if they don't, Luke Beveridge, he'll be coaching in the VFL, I feel.
Or at Freo, which is close enough. Jesse, what are you saying?
I like that call for the Bulldogs. Two came to mind when you brought this question up, and I'll go with the other one that came to mind for me, other than the Bulldogs, and it's got to be Adelaide, I think. When you consider like they were basically in the finals, if not for a inexplicable umpiring mistake on the goal line last year. They're basically a finals quality side already, and you look at the linear improvement for some young guys. Yeah, I do think they're a bit vulnerable if someone like a Tex or a Jordan Dawson miss footy, but on strength of best 22, on system and their home ground advantage, I feel like Adelaide making the finals is a pretty safe bet this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's hard when teams have so much momentum to like see them going down in the next season. Like, there's no way I thought Freo would finish in the bottom 4 or 5 after finishing 5th the season before. So there's going to be like massive swings. I'm just going to chuck in Geelong. Another answer that doesn't grab headlines or anything like that. I know.
Not again.
If I can't say Freo, I'm going to say Geelong. So
why does it have to be a choice between those two?
Yeah. If I can't say Freo, I can't say 16 other sides.
the home ground factor, I'm pretty sure they've got a really easy run home as well. Everyone's saying Geelong make the 8, so I'm just going to jump on that bandwagon because I can't say Freo.
Just to sort of play devil's advocate and root against the side I despise, if you look at Geelong's best 22 on paper, and it's so hard to say, and every time I write them off, they do finish top 8, but it doesn't look strong anymore. The midfield is super weak. I think their ruckman's going to be like Toby Conway. I think Shannon Neal's going to roll through the forward line. I think it's going to be like Atkins, Jai Clark, Holmes Guthrie in the middle. Like it isn't like besides Cameron and Hawkins, and then I reckon their backline's pretty complete, but it's not the firepower that we're used to. So the only reason I can see Geelong coming back up into the 8 is the Chris Scott factor. He's a genius and he can do a lot with a little. And if you look at their best 22, it looks like a little.
I like how you've just jumped in there and just absolutely doxed Geelong. I appreciate that.
It felt so good. It's never felt better.
What have you said about teams that could jump up into the top 4? Teams that could take that step from being like a finals contender and a tough side to a genuine premiership contender? I'm going to hop in first this time. I reckon Sydney had a bit of a shitty year last year. Somehow made it into finals in the end. But I feel like life after Buddy will be good for them. Like lots of people say, but when you're playing in a side with Buddy Franklin, you're just looking for him all the time. But that forward line is stacked. Logan McDonald with Heaney, Papley, Amati showed good signs, Hayward. They've bolstered their midfield as well with good experience. I feel like James Jordan from Melbourne is just like a great role player to have in your side. You can inform me more on that, Caden, but I feel like he was a pretty important player for you during that premiership year. Also added Adams from Collingwood, Hamling for a bit of backline depth, etc. So they've got the culture there, and you hear the players already talking in pre-season from some content I've watched, and they're looking for the flag this year. They were only in a grand final 2 seasons ago, so I could see Sydney jumping up into the top 4 again. What do you lads reckon?
I agree with that. So my ladder prediction comes out tomorrow as we're recording this, so I can talk freely. But I've got 3 teams outside last year's top 4 that made it.
Wow.
So you said Sydney, and I'll throw the other one in there in GWS. I think that I predict GWS to win the premiership as my.
Oh my goodness gracious me!
I think when you look at their list profile, like I reckon their backline, save for maybe St Kilda, it's probably the best in the league, other than maybe the Saints. And they,
What?
What?
Are you joking?
GWS? No.
No, you're saying St Kilda have one of the best backlines in the league?
St Kilda had the best backline. Yeah, they were the best defensive side.
What have I missed?
You missed season
Jesus
2023
Christ.
by the sounds of it. But GWS have the ability to have the best backline this year. Like the guys they unearthed last year, like Sam Taylor's All-Australian, could have done it again if he'd played a whole season last year. There's Connor Iden's really come up the ranks, and Buckley, that's the name I was thinking of. Buckley is the other key defender at GWS. I think their backline is unreal. The midfield is really strong. Guys like Green and Callahan also on the younger end. And the forward line, we saw some progress last year. Like Jesse Hogan found some form. Riccardi found some form. He's hit 50 games. And then there's Brent Daniels, Toby Green, these smaller types. Even Toby Bedford as well has his fans. So I just think it's a complete team. It's a mature team. And they'll take the momentum from last year into this year and win the whole thing.
Yeah, good call. You can't really argue with that. Tom Green, I remember watching him in season 2022, which I did not miss, playing at Freo, and he just dominated. Like, he just looked like an absolute bull. And you notice those superstar players when you're watching in person, just like how they move, how they play and stack up against the opposition. And yeah, he's an absolute star, Tom Green. I wonder if Jesse Hogan can back it up, because I just didn't see any of that from him at Freo. Not that we've ever had any success. They just stop talking about how shit Freo have been. Caden, who are you saying? Who's jumping up into the top 4?
Well, I actually tipped Jesse Hogan for the Coleman this year, because I did
Come on.
Wow.
I did see that potential when he played for the D's, those 4 or 5 seasons. He was the prodigal son. I thought he was going to be the next David Neitz. What he did in the first few seasons as like an 18, 19-year-old was ridiculous. He pipped Cripper for the Rising Star because I think he kicked 40 in a year in his first year, which was mental. I've tipped St Kilda to finish in the top 4. As Jesse said, one of the best, well, they were the best team defensive sides in the comp, and they were playing the Sandringham Zebras for half the year last year. They were playing the Twos because they had so many injuries. Hopefully they're a little bit healthier this season. And with such a struggling side in terms of personnel, they almost made the top 4 last year. I think there was like 2 or 3 games to go, and they just kept dropping the ones they should win, and they couldn't quite scrape into the top 4. But this year, I don't think that'll be an issue. And Max King, he's going to be super important. Hopefully he's fit and, can take him to the promised land. But the Saints will get the double chance.
I'm sorry, St Kilda fans. I didn't realise how elite of a club they are. Right, I've missed something about the Saints, apparently. From the highs to the lows, we're going to talk about our bottom 4 sides. Do either of you have Freo in your bottom 4? If you do, grow up.
No, I don't.
I don't either, no.
Jesse? Yes.
I have them a couple of spots out.
Yeah, same.
Shit. Jesse, give us your wooden spoon and your bottom 4.
Wooden spoon, I've gone with North over West Coast because I'm a blue and gold nuffy, but also they are super young, which I think might get missed. They're a very different looking team next year. Backline not looking great on paper, and just shed a lot of experience, a lot of youngsters to give games to. I don't think I see improvement in a big way next year. West Coast naturally second last. And then I've got Richmond and the Hawks making up the rest of the bottom 4. Hawthorn, obviously young side, they'll still improve by 1 spot, but they've also got some injuries at the moment. I think we need to be patient. And then Richmond, I think top end, like if they keep their best players together and they're fit, like they could definitely push for finals. Such is the quality of their top end, like Dustin Martin, Shea Bolton, Tom Lynch come to mind. But if they have a few injuries, I think their depth is really bad, like respectfully. So that's why I've thrown them into the mix as a team that will plummet.
Caden, what's yours? What's your bottom 4?
I have the exact same bottom 4 as Jesse, just a different order. So I have West Coast finishing last. I then have the Tigers second last. I reckon Alistair Clarkson can work a miracle and get North to third last. And then I've got the Hawks as well. But the only thing that gets me up and about North potentially improving is like that star-studded core of their midfielders. And then obviously their forward line's pretty complete, but golly, Toby Pink and Aiden Core holding down the fort down the other end is all sorts of concerning. Hopefully the midfield is defensive and can run back and give them a chop out. But same 4 as Jesse.
All right, I've got West Coast on the bottom, North Melbourne, then got Richmond, The one that I've been copping the most hate for in my season predictions is having Essendon in the bottom 4.
Yeah,
Do
not
you
bad.
guys see Essendon really rising this year? That like all their fans are saying like, we've added great players. We've added Todd Goldstein, who's come from the bad side in the last
Ben
4 years.
Mackay,
and
Jade Gresham.
Ben Mackay, who's come from the worst. But they're not winners. They are not people that are
Why
going to come
lead
in.
with
Like, I don't know. They got what's that guy's name from Port Adelaide that's slipping my mind right now?
Dersma,
Dersma. And who else did they add?
Gresham.
Like, none of those guys really scream like carry Essendon to the top 8. Like, maybe they won't finish bottom 4, but going on the form from the last 2 months of the season, Essendon just left no room for optimism for me this season. Maybe I could be wrong. Right, you've already given away your premier, Jesse. Who are GWS playing in the grand final? Let's go with our grand final predictions. Who have you got?
I would love to see an all Sydney grand final, so I'll make that my prediction. Mix it up a little bit. The Swans resurge back. Is that the right word? Resurge back into like third. I think I have them, and then second place third. All Sydney grand final, and the Giants get it done.
Okay, interesting. Caden, what are you saying?
So I've gone for a big blockbuster, 2 big Victorian teams. I'm sort of having my cake and eating it as well because I didn't tip the D's to finish top 4. But the D's are going to go the hard way. Instead of straight sets, they're going to make it and they're going to take on the Blues, and it is going to be a contested war. So I can't wait for that.
All right, interesting. That'd be a very entertaining grand final.
I tipped the Lions to win in my other one, so I don't. Yeah, Lions, Blues win. D's win that one. Yeah,
Yeah, just make 18 different TikToks.
yeah. When I go on Cardi, I've got the Tigers getting up, and then
Yeah. West Coast out of nowhere.
My grand final prediction, I've got Brisbane. I just think they're still humming. They're still right there. They sort of seem to go one leg further every year in their development. So I think Brisbane will be there again. There's no reason they shouldn't with the list they have and what they've built over the last few years. And then I'd probably say Sydney as well. Again, not a big Victorian grand final, but be a bit different. I'm going to back Sydney to make it back into the grand final because they're pretty much there every 2 or 3 years anyway, going up against Brisbane. And I reckon, I'll go Sydney win the flag. Why not? Different from the season predictions. There's 2 different predictions I've thrown out in a week. All right, best player in the league, the Brownlow medal. Who is winning the Brownlow in 2023, Caden?
Sam Walsh. Even though he's had back complaints over the last week, I think Sam Walsh, what he did in the finals last year was ridiculous. He is such a gun. His work rate's insane, and he gets on the scoreboard. So if he can sort that back out, Sammy Walsh will take home the Charles Brownlow.
Jesse, what are you saying?
For 6 consecutive years, I'm going to tip a Brownlow tie because it's got to happen. It's been 20 years, and I reckon it's about time statistically. I'm going to go Walsh and Dacos.
Yeah, that's just the easiest answer you can give, really, isn't it? Like the 2 best up-and-coming players in the league.
I'll just go fuck myself then.
Wow.
Hey, look, I was going to say Dacos anyway, so we're all pretty much on the same page. Yeah, Sam Walsh and Dacos, like what I noticed most about them is their ability to get to like the second contest after being at a stoppage. That goal in the grand final where Dacos sort of gets it out of the air and handballs it to De Goey. He's at the like centre bounce 2 seconds before. And watching Sam Walsh play, he's always the first one out the front of the stoppage as well. So 2 young guns. The league's in a great place. My enunciation isn't. But yeah, there we go. That's what we've discussed today. The season predictions for 2024. Wrapped up, done and dusted. What are we saying, lads?
Bring back the pair.
Shout outs Pear's mum. It's Pear's mum's birthday. He was meant to be here today, but he couldn't make it. He's brushed over that, eh?
It's my mum's birthday today as well. But I have commitment. Yeah, it is. But I have commitment to the craft.
You guys know who these guys are. True Footy, Caden. They'll be smashing out content all year. Thanks for joining me today, lads. Any parting words from either of yous? Great. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. You plonkers.
That's comedy gold.